Thanks for tuning into the Urban Scope podcast. Um, I had a topic about um, college football, which I think is maybe the second time I've covered it on my podcast since its inception. But a very controversial topic, of course, regarding NIL and player commitment. UNLV's quarterback Matthew Sluka, who was a transfer from Holy Cross, um, he decided to call it quits after 3 games this year because of alleged broken promise of an NIL deal for $100,000. Um, God, this was a difficult one. So in high school, I did an essay on should college players be paid, and one of my arguments that I've made for players being paid is, you know, the NCAA is a multi-billion dollar business. They're making money off of players and their likeness, and players are just subject to scholarships and just told to be thankful for those scholarships as they're getting a free education. Which most of those athletes have good enough grades they could probably get a academic scholarship anyway. So that's kind of a mute point in most cases. But one of the major points I made was that they should be paid just for the simple fact of like what they contributed to the game. And then, like I said, you got to go back to your dorm or to your apartment to eat Roman noodles all day. Or sometimes don't even eat because, like I said, you're only getting a couple of thousand back from your scholarship or whatever, and you're traveling all over the country and with low funds. Most of these things are given to them for free, but like I said, you still have a life to live, and sometimes most of these college athletes, this is the last stop for them to make any money because we know there's a small percentage go um, to the NFL. Opposed because there's probably there are thousands and thousands of athletes who play college football, whether it be Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, JUCO. um, Only a certain percentage of those get drafted every year, so it's only 7 rounds in the NFL, and it's 30, so it's probably 200 people get drafted out of the thousands and thousands who are eligible. So they try to get the money while they can. So I'll kind of go through Matthew Sluka's situation. So he said that he was promised $100,000 from UNLV, never received the money. He's only received a couple $1,000s, but the team apparently is not budging on that, and um, he's not playing. Now after 3-0 start, which is their best start in decades, they've beat some top teams such as Kansas, and things were looking up. But now he's out. So now um, the big question is, does he have a responsibility to his team, and does he has a responsibility, or is this just a business? So I'll kind of go through those. But first, if they did promise, Matthew Sluka the $100,000, that needs to be investigated. Who told him that? Who made that promise to him? Whether it be the NCAA or the school, it needs to be investigated because, like I said, if they broke a promise and got him there to school and wasted his time, somebody needs to investigate that, whether it's true or not. So that's first off. So somebody needs to look into that. That's first off. I think that's first priority. Because, like I said, your word is everything. You shouldn't be promising people stuff, especially when it determines their livelihood. I'm pretty sure he wants to be drafted. He's not on a lot of people's draft boards in the top, but like I said, this year could have changed him around if he took UNLV to a bowl game or even to the playoffs and he played stellar, which he has done so far in these first 3 games. His draft stock could have dramatically changed and could have got him a good draft status, and he wouldn't have to worry about the 100,000 as much. Um, so, um, but yeah, so the biggest question is, does he have obligation to his team? So when I thought about this question, I said yes and no. So first off, I would say he does have an obligation to his team, um, but also he has an obligation to his family and to his future, right? So if he was promised 100,000 and he transferred from Holy Cross, I'm pretty sure one of the main reasons he transferred because he was promised 100,000. So if he transferred just on that basis, like I said, he had aspirations to do stuff with that money. Maybe he wanted to start a business. Maybe he wanted to parlay that quarterback position to a job or something. So I'm not sure. Like I said, none of this information is readily available or anything like that. So he hasn't really told his story yet. Um, so from my perspective, I think he has more of a uh, obligation to himself and his future, I mean his family, because like I said, the NCAA is not just about being a student athlete. It's about being, um, it's a business, multi-billion dollars. Athletes really don't make that much money. Prior to this year in NIL, they weren't supposed to make any money. Reggie Bush is suing in NCAA now because they took his Heisman from him because he allegedly took funds from a booster or a family or somebody like that. So um, NCAA is a business. Ed O'Bannon sued the NCAA because of the football, well, the college, the college games that were coming out. They were putting college players' likeness in the game, but they weren't receiving compensation for that, which I'm still kind of salty about because, like I said, I'm a big college football video game fan. So we lost that game for about 10 years, just came back this year. Um, but, Ed O'Bannon sued them for the likeness stuff because most people felt it was unfair. Well, let me say most athletes thought it was unfair. There is a big contingent amongst people who never played college sports or never played um, any kind of sports or care about sports are saying, well, you're getting a free education. Well, it's more to that. You're putting your body on the line. You're putting your health on the line. Just because I'm a college athlete, I'm still prone to CTE. I'm still prone to injuries. I'm prolong. I mean, I can be affected long term from these injuries just to make all these money for the universities and these colleges. So I think they should receive some kind of compensation for their risk. Um, like I said, the risk is not always worth the reward unless you're in one of these big Division 1 schools or you're some kind of stellar player in Division 2. The likelihood of you being drafted is very small. They nitpick you once you get to try to get drafted. You could have all the best stats in the world, but they'll say your competition is not good enough. You got arrested in kindergarten for something. You got arrested in middle school for something. You had um, your parents had some kind of fraud going on. They'll figure anything out when you're getting drafted. So it's very difficult. It's a very difficult process. So a lot of people don't understand that. Like I said, I've never been a college athlete uh, or an athlete on that high of a level, but I'm able to empathize with them because I see the stories and I see how the media spins stuff when they're trying to get drafted. They nitpick every little thing to why you can't be successful instead of talking about how far you've came and um, how many obstacles you overcame and how it can help you succeed in the future. It's always the negative. Um, but I digress. Um, but like I said, he has a more obligation to his family. He has a more obligation to his future. If this is the last time he has any opportunity to make money, he's putting his life on the line for a sport. And anytime you sign up for these sports, you put your life on the line. Like I said, you can get people have died in this game from collisions and from being out in practice, and people died, and like I said, their family is left with nothing. When I look at comparing it to the average day Joe, a lot of these jobs want us, put your life on the line, and but the reward is small. How many people, if they were to die today in their 9 to 5, families would be set for the next 5 or 10 years or the next 20 years? Most people can't say that unless you already came from money and you're just working just to pretty much work for the insurance. But most of these people, if they would, you know, pass away today, their families would be in horrible shape. So you got to consider the risk and reward. Then another question that I've posed from this topic was, will competition be harmed by the NIL because it's more of a money decision now? Players are making decisions based off money. Um, NIL is not regulated federally, or it's not regulated at any kind of level. So it's kind of like, best man, best offer. So is that going to hurt the competition of NIL? I think to some degree it will, because UNLV might not be the same team ever this season. Uh, Other teams have lose players just off of pay because maybe they don't want to pay that much or maybe they don't have that much. Opposed to before the NIL, it was just about who made the best pitch. And now I'm not going to be naive. There were paying players way before NIL, but they couldn't document it. They couldn't publicize it. So, um, Coach Saban and other coaches kind of griped about the NIL and how players are not worried about how the team can get better, but how much can you offer me? I think it kind of turned Nick Saban off, and now he is being an analyst now on ESPN because he said a player came to his office and was just griping about his NIL money, and he's like trying to tell him about how he can get better and what can we do for the team. So I understand it from that perspective, but like I said, players didn't approve NIL; it was approved through the NCAA. So you just have to figure it out and adjust to the times. Like I always say, the greatest survival tactic is adaptability. So being able to adapt to the changes, technology changes. A lot of I know older people kind of like gripe about technology. I don't know how to work it, but you have to learn it. Like I said, when I get older, they're gonna change things. I'm going to have to learn it and adjust. It's just the way the name of the game. So you have to be able to adjust in that way. But I think competition will be somewhat harmed by NIL until they figure out some kind of um, like collective bargaining agreement to put a cap on the money of what players can receive per position. Or I hope they don't do it by position like the NFL does. I hope it's just whatever kind, however good you are, you can get paid a certain amount, and that's a cap on that. So I hope they figure that out. It'll make the NIL system better, and I hope the NIL doesn't go away because, like I said, I'm all for players being paid. They do so much and risk their lives and make so many sacrifices as far as changes to the diet, their social lives and stuff like that. They pretty much dedicate their lives to this sport while trying to get their academics. So I'm all for NIL pay. Um, like I said, I think Matthew Sluka, hopefully they get to the bottom of what happened. But I think he got, if it is true that, he was offered this 100,000 and didn't get it, I think it's an unfortunate situation that kind of messed up, it could determine his career forever. Because like I said, if it was me, like I'm not an athlete, like I said, but if it was up to me, I don't know if my team was 3-0, I probably would have played just to see if I could, take this team far as it can and maybe make the playoffs. And if I somehow made the playoffs, my draft stock rises and I'll make my money on the back end. Pause. So, it's just, like I said, I'm not in that position, so I can't make the decision like he has. I don't know what his financial situation is. I don't know what his familial background is, or maybe he needed the money a lot and he wasn't able to get it. And like I said, he was allegedly made this promise and it never came through. So tell me what you think about the NIL and what Matthew Sluka should have done um, as far as still playing, even though he wasn't getting paid. So yeah, so just let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for tuning in.